Tonight at 10, Gaddafi still on the run as the battle for Tripoli claims more lives. Intense fighting around Gaddafi's compound. He calls on loyalists to take up arms. In the network of tunnels underground, a glimpse of the hidden world of the old regime.
This secret world was incredibly well constructed. The ceilings here are very high, the walls are very solid.
Now it's the battle for Sirte, Gaddafi's home city, where the rebels encounter tough opposition. And the price paid by Gaddafi's enemies is increasingly clear. We have a special report.
They're going to take these 4 away and bury them soon. They've all obviously died of gunshot wounds at close range.
We'll have the latest from Tripoli, where there's now a desperate shortage of food, fuel and medical supplies. Also tonight, another record year for GCSE passes. We report from a school doing well in a challenging area. A surge in net migration to Britain. Ministers say the new rules will soon make a difference. And what's the future for Apple now that the man behind all of this is stepping down?
In BBC London News, Scotland Yard warns rioters on the run that they will be caught as arrests in the capital top 2,000 and tributes are paid at the funeral of a North London soldier killed in Afghanistan.
Good evening. As rebel forces consolidate their hold on most of Tripoli, there's been another broadcast message from Colonel Gaddafi calling for the city to be liberated. Fighting has been continuing throughout the day amid reports of atrocities committed by Gaddafi's retreating forces. There's growing concern about the shortage of food, fuel and medical supplies. And in central Tripoli, the heaviest fighting has been near Gaddafi's old compound. Our correspondent Orla Gearin was there, and her report does contain some graphic images.
Descending into Colonel Gaddafi's underground fortress. A warren of tunnels which run for miles and could have been his escape route. Today, rebel fighters were taking the tour, seeing where Gaddafi's troops had been holed up. Abandoned in a corner, some of their supplies. Well, this underground labyrinth, this secret world, was incredibly well constructed. The ceilings here are very high, the walls are very solid. Over here, I've just found a phone which was obviously used for internal communications. And this is a kind of a motorised cart. It looks like a golf buggy. Who knows if the Libyan leader was transported through these tunnels in this cart. Colonel Gaddafi thought he wouldn't be disturbed here behind these reinforced doors. But while he may have been able to flee into the shadows above ground, others were cut down in the battle for Tripoli. At the edge of the compound today, we found bodies lying where they fell. Gaddafi loyalists, one rebel said. We can't be sure who killed them, but one man appeared to have been executed. He had been shot through the head with his hands still bound. A short distance away in Abu Salim district, the rebels are hunting for a sniper's nest. But up ahead, a glimpse of a bigger threat. Could these be enemy troops? That was the answer. Soon, a full-scale street battle. The fighters were dangerously exposed. They brought out their improvised big guns and their rocket-propelled grenades. Another long burst of rebel gunfire there. They believe there are Colonel Gaddafi's troops just a little distance up this road. They've been trying to push forward. They say it's... For about an hour, we were pinned down. Then it was time to make a getaway. The rebels were running low on ammunition. We escaped with 2 bullet holes in our car. This was just one pocket of resistance. Who knows how many more there may be. The rebels are tightening their grip here, but in the capital, these are still dangerous days. Orla Guerin, BBC News, Tripoli.
Well, the BBC team in Tripoli has been shown evidence of atrocities alleged to have been committed by Gaddafi's forces in the days before the fall of the city. It's reported that one group of men was tortured and then shot. This report from our World Affairs editor John Simpson also contains some graphic images.
The breakdown of the kind of systems most societies take for granted is almost total here. There's little electricity, no safe water, no rubbish collection. The empty shells from yesterday's wild outbursts of firing still lie around everywhere, and there are no police on the streets. The rebels who man the checkpoints are friendly and still buoyed up by their victory, but they're no substitute for proper law and order. People have to take things into their own hands. At the biggest hospital in Tripoli, they were cleaning the blood off the stretchers this morning, using water taken from the air conditioning system. Things are much quieter here today, and the doctors who've worked 4 straight days and nights can get a bit of rest. And although the pressure on the hospital has been immense, it's just managed to cope. It's the hospitals that are starting to see evidence of some of the last crimes of the Gaddafi regime. At this one, the bodies of 25 political prisoners were brought from their jail on Sunday. As the rebels began their final attack on Tripoli, these men were herded into the open and shot down. Well, the stench here is absolutely appalling. These bodies have been lying out for some time now. There are altogether 15 left unburied, and they're going to take these 4 away and bury them soon. They've all obviously died of gunshot wounds at close range. But one of the prisoners survived, and I went to see him. His name is Mansour El-Hadi, and he told me they'd been picked up, tortured, then taken out where a uniformed pro-Gaddafi soldier and 2 African mercenaries had opened fire on them. The rebels may control the streets, but Colonel Gaddafi is still trying to give the impression he's staging a fight back. This was his latest broadcast today on a secret television station set up to support him.
Libya belongs to you. Libya is yours. Tripoli for the people of Tripoli. It is not for the traitors who prostrate themselves before NATO. They are traitors. They are foreigners. Tripoli belongs to you.
The rebels are still celebrating. This group comes from Misrata, and they've just met up with their comrades. The constant firing in the air is a nuisance. But even though most of the rebels come from other parts of the country, they aren't behaving like a conquering army, and there have been no reports of looting or mistreating ordinary people. They're full of confidence about the future. This is Marwan, who's come from Wolverhampton.
We can do it. We've done it with Gaddafi. We can build it ourselves. We can do it. We can sweep the streets. We build houses. We do everything for our people.
Colonel Gaddafi's regime did huge damage to Libya. The vast oil wealth was spent on things like his palaces, this one for instance, rather than on the Libyan people. Now it's payback time. John Simpson, BBC News, Tripoli.
Well, all the signs are that Gaddafi's last remaining stronghold is the city of Sirte, his birthplace, still home to many loyal supporters. Rebel forces have been advancing towards the city during the day, but their progress has been blocked by Gaddafi's forces. Sirte is some 280 miles to the east of Tripoli, and the rebel front line is now thought to be some 60 miles from the city itself. Our correspondent Paul Wood sent this report.
It's not quite over yet. This afternoon, Grad rockets exchanged fire in the desert. Tanks too. The rebels are pushing up reinforcements. We're 60 miles from Sirte, Colonel Gaddafi's birthplace. There, his troops are expected to make a last stand.
We were engaged with the enemy from this morning with heavy artillery. I mean, maybe you could hear the explosions every now and again.
So they had the chance 2 days to go to Sirte, back to Sirte, but they did not. I think they're coming from Sirte now.
So they're still attacking?
That's what you can see now, they're attacking us.
Such attacks could be to cover the retreat to Sirte. The rebels still hope that talks with tribal leaders there will end this peacefully. They're baffled by the continued resistance.
You know, I thought, hey, Gaddafi ran away, they got Tripoli, game over, but apparently it's personal. I don't know what they're fighting for, really. They must believe in this guy, I don't know.
All around are signs of Libya's oil wealth, but the infrastructure is broken. Even here, in the shadow of the refinery, there are petrol queues. The rebels badly need international agreement to unfreeze $1.5 billion in assets. A complete military victory might help that.
And the rebel commanders had hoped and expected that once Colonel Gaddafi was seen to have fled from Tripoli, it would all be over. People would have no more reason to fight. That expectation has been confounded. One rebel commander told me he thought, there's another one, he thought perhaps that the Gaddafi loyalists simply were not aware that their leader was now out of power. It could also be that they're afraid of revenge attacks. Whatever the cause, both sides are digging in here for a fight which commanders on this side certainly think could last another 3 or 4 days. Paul Wood, BBC News, on the road to Sirte.
Well, now, since Paul filed the report, some news from the United Nations. A deal has been struck during the course of the evening to allow the release of $1.5 billion of frozen Libyan funds. So with that in mind, let's turn to John Simpson, our World Affairs editor in Tripoli. And John, how significant is that announcement, and where will the money be spent, do you think?
I think it's very significant. It's an indication that the world thinks that Libya is now heading in the right direction and should be helped to carry on in that direction. There's an enormous need, of course, for medicines at the moment. There's a great need for electricity, equipment to generate electricity, and water. Very great importance indeed. In the medium term, I think actually what this country needs, full of very educated people, it needs management skills. And in the longer run, I think what they really need most of all is training to become a civil society like other democracies. So they need training for politicians, for instance, for lawyers, for judges, for journalists, for people who can create the kind of society that Libya could be if the money that's been squandered hopelessly around the world for 41 years, for nearly 42 years, can actually be spent on the Libyan people themselves.
John, thank you very much. John Simpson there for us once again in Tripoli. Quick reminder, more about the ongoing situation. There are a special live page online. I'll give you the address once again. It brings together all the latest news and analysis, bbc.co.uk/news. Some of the day's other main stories. It's been another record year for GCSE results. In England and Wales, results have improved for the 23rd year in a row, though in Northern Ireland they dropped slightly compared to last year. Overall, the pass rate was almost 93%. Almost 70% of entries gained a C grade or above, and more than 1 in 5 of those scored an A or an A star. Now, one secondary school that has been achieving results far better than the English average is in Peckham in southeast London, one of the areas badly affected by the riots earlier this month. Our home editor Mark Easton has been to see how young people in some deprived areas can be helped to achieve their goals.
The unconfined joy and disbelief of young people who've achieved the best from a neighbourhood where society expects the worst. In an area with sky-high levels of youth violence, school failure and unemployment, pupils at